Welcome to Hardcore Garage. It is Friday, day 19 of the coronavirus lockdown, or whatever you want to call it. I did finally get my O-rings for the fuel lines on Slime Time. I also picked up a soldering iron so I can get this wire harness dealt with, where I was removing all the old wires from the alarm system that was on it. I had an Alpine alarm on it at one time, and I'm trying to do the cleanup of the wiring. Maybe it'll go back on there after we get things going. It was really only the main power wire that it was hooked into anyway, I believe is what it was. So I just disconnected it. Now I'm going to solder the wires back together. So it's a nice solid connection, heat shrink, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I'm going to do today is do that. It's been forever since I've soldered wires. I did attend ITT, Technical Institute, back in the 90s, and I was a good solderer back then. So if you see me doing something wrong or a way that I could improve, please give me some tips, man. No big deal. I actually tried to do this with a small handheld, like pin style solder iron, and I just could not get enough heat to generate into the wires. It is a pretty big wire, maybe 8 gauge. So we're going to see what happens with this new one. Here's the old brain from the alarm. It was an Alpine 8125. And here's the harness that I cut off. It had the, that would have been motion sensor there, I think, not impact. I think that's the motion. This right here was the ignition kill switch. There's a little button that's kind of hidden inside there to reset things that they didn't tell you about because they wanted you to pay them a bunch of money whenever that thing got activated. But there's the 2 wires. It was just hooked into the main harness that I cut off. There is my new solder iron that I'm going to use. Right here is the wire. That's where I cut it out. This is some heat shrink that I put on there, but I just kind of meshed the wires all together, and I'm going to put the solder iron on here. You heat the wires, not the solder, and then we'll hold the solder onto the other side, and hopefully it'll flow down through there and make us a really nice connection. Slide this up over there, heat it, shrink it back down, shove it up inside the main loom, and we'll be good to go. All right, hopefully you guys can see this. This gun does not have like a preheat on it or anything like that. You just pull the trigger, I guess, and it feels like there's 2 places on that trigger. You do need to tin the tip before you use a soldering iron, which means get it warm enough, get some solder on the end of it. Probably shouldn't be doing it right over all this there. You can see the change of the color now when it's starting to heat up. If you guys can see that in there. I don't know if this is going to screw us up or not. All right, I'm just laying it on there, letting the wires heat up. With my other gun, it felt like the rubber on the wires was gonna melt when I was doing this, and I didn't want to do that really. Yeah, I can see it going into the wire now. I may have to do this a couple times. See, I'm actually touching the solder. I really shouldn't be. I should be able to get it to heat right off the wire here. But I think there's so many wires here, and the heat kind of dissipates into the wire. Hope I'm not wasting my time trying to do this like this. If I was a plumber, I would know way more about what I was doing, huh? I can see it flowing down in it, so it's got to be working. I'll flip it over in a minute and do the other side. If that held good, we'll see. So I got it soldered up. Wasn't very pretty. My heat shrink, the wire got too hot and the heat shrink shrunk, so I couldn't slide the heat shrink over the wire. I had to tape it up, pushed it back inside the harness, and then retaped the harness there. I also tried to get a new O-ring for here. You can see where I peeled the old one off, and that was unsuccessful. as well. Right there was the difference. This is the old one. There was the new one that I picked up in the... Not gonna work. We will try again next time. Wash your hands. So until the next time, guys, keep on trucking.